What's up, good people? My name is AJ and you are watching Straight Talks. The video today is going to be a comparison of the salaries and other compensation earned by CFA charterholders and CFP professionals. We will go over some data on compensation for both of these designations, and then discuss how I see potential future pay raises working for people with either of these marks. If you enjoy the CFA or CFP content, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. Both of those things help me out and I appreciate them. Now let's get into this one. The most straightforward part of this conversation is just to look at the median pay for these designations throughout different stages in each respective career. One of the best studies I have seen on this was from Investment News, and it was published in about 2016. They look at financial advisors, but not partners of financial advising firms. I think the better way to look at this data is to cite the median salaries, and so that's what I'm going to do here. The median CFP advisor in that group that the study covered earned $142,750 in total compensation. Of this same group, the median CFA earned $177,740. But I don't think this data set tells the whole story for CFA charterholders because many CFA charterholders are not working in financial advising. The CFA Institute puts out data every single year to answer our question here, and I have other videos diving into the details of some of that data. For this video, I'm just going to present the numbers that are most comparable to the ones that I just mentioned a little bit ago. The median total compensation for CFA charterholders in 2019 was $930, that would be nice, was $193,000. So you could subtract a few percent for inflation since the last numbers I just mentioned were from 2016, and then ignore maybe the top 1% of earners, which are usually like partners, which we also ignored in the prior study of CFP professionals. And you'll still see what I would consider to be like the typical CFA charterholder, earning about 20 to 25% more than the average CFP professional at the same stage in their career. These median numbers are great, and I do believe that they will be pretty representative of most careers with either of those designations, but the reality for you watching this video is that your compensation is going to depend on a range of factors. Most of these factors differ depending on which of these charters or designations you hold. The only commonality between both of those designations is that anyone who holds either of those and also likes this video is almost guaranteed to make huge sums of money. But really, the commonality is that almost every manager prefers to give raises to people who are good people. If you're kind to coworkers and people just generally like to be around you, you're going to have a much easier time in getting pay increases in the future. Specific to the CFA, most of the jobs someone who holds this charter might be working in determine their raises by the accuracy of their work and their financial projections, or by their ability to get deals done in a transactional or sell-side role. Then for the CFP, I feel like many of those jobs are going to be more sales-based. There is a new trend for salary-only advisors who might get raises based on client satisfaction scores or something qualitative like that, but many of them still have a focus on bringing in new assets to the firm. Here's a bit of a career timeline perspective brought to you by yours truly about the compensation differences between these two designations. Almost everyone's pay structure is going to differ, so my opinions here might not perfectly describe your individual situation. But this is kind of how I personally view the dynamic typically starting out. Starting out, a CFA is generally just going to earn more money in total compensation than a CFP. It's a more difficult designation to get, and typically with these letters is working more in like a big city, big finance environment where total compensation packages can just be higher because of cost of living. And for someone just starting out in the financial advice industry who has recently passed the CFP exam, it's not uncommon to still be making an entry-level salary of like $40,000, $45,000, $50,000 US. So if you're in that boat, don't feel discouraged. But a few years down the line, if someone with the CFP working a financial planning role has had some success in working with new clients or buys out a retiring advisor, they could quickly pass up many CFA charterholders in total compensation. Then the third stage, which might be 10 or 20 years down the line, I generally see the CFA charterholder making a comeback as many of them are going to be moving up into like senior level roles at major corporations potentially where compensation packages will start to be north of like $200,000, $250,000 US. But then finally, in the later stages of a career, I just think a CFP professional is going to have more opportunity to earn like a $500,000 or $1 million annual salary. Because of the owner-operator structure that many financial planning firms follow, there's going to be a better chance for someone with this designation to end up as kind of being the top dog. And if you're in those shoes, you have a better chance of earning what you might consider to be like a C-suite type of salary rather than a senior CFA investment analyst type position. I see fewer CFA charter holders actually landing in executive positions and being able to earn that type of a salary. Now, you could also make a point about the extreme outliers here, because there are a couple notable billionaires who are CFA charter holders. Bill Gross, I think, being probably the most famous of them. And I don't see any CFP professionals ever making $1 billion. So there is a difference there, but I don't even really consider this to be an edge for the CFA, because I think these billionaire examples are so few and far between that they almost aren't even worth mentioning. There's also a point to be made about the type of compensation received by individuals with these two designations. For someone with the CFA who might be working in one of those more transactional based roles that I talked about, there's a good chance that they get some of their bonus compensation paid in the form of company stock. Whether it's their own employer's stock or the stock of a company in which they just did a deal for, it's still stock and not cash. Sure, that stock can appreciate, but most people would rather just have the cash to decide what stocks they could then buy with that cash themselves than being a stock that they are assigned to that they have to hold for a certain period of time. I guess I just assign a little bit extra value on compensation that you can actually use. I've heard of very few situations where CFP professionals are paid in stock, so it's something that might be worth mentioning. Now, things can get pretty interesting when you combine both of these two designations like I have. Not that I'm all that interesting, I just mean it can get interesting, and I have also done that same thing. If you hold both of these designations, you should be able to structure your career in a way that most interests you. You can focus on responsibilities that I would consider to lean more CFA, like portfolio risk management at a small family office or equity research at a large RIA firm or anything similar to that. But both of those roles would still incorporate some financial planning principles, so the CFP would still have some value. Or you can lean more CFP and spend more of your time talking face-to-face with clients. But you'll know that you have the background knowledge of the CFA charter to back up some of those investment recommendations that you might be making. And it's also worth mentioning that CFA Level 3 includes what I would consider to be one of the best comprehensive summaries or bodies of knowledge about behavioral finance out there. It is truly a brilliant look into the study of behavioral finance, and I would say after having gone through that section, it has impacted almost all of the conversations that I have with clients on a day-to-day basis. Under this type of a dual designation arrangement, I don't know that you could say there are any typical compensation structures that would come with it. I really think that in that scenario, it's going to depend more on the type of the firm that you work at, or what your specific responsibilities end up being in your job. In what might be like a best case scenario, you could end up getting compensated for client investment performance and salary or fee-based compensation like a financial planner typically would for the clients that you work with. Look, under any of these scenarios, I think you're going to be well compensated. And back to the point I made earlier, the biggest differentiating factor is going to be if you are a good person to be around and a good person to work with for your coworkers and also for clients or investors. So if you're thinking about getting either of these designations, or if you already have them, do it to the best of your ability or utilize them to the best of your ability. You're going to be able to grow your compensation. I've seen this in my own life just in the past 4 or 5 years, and it's pretty exciting stuff to think about what it could turn into in the future as well. So let me know in the comments down below where you guys are at in your careers, or how you see these two designations helping you now or potentially helping you in the future, and I'll be happy to respond to some of those and just have the conversation. So as always, thanks for watching.